Let's start a new topic tonight, and this is about wound care on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Hatipul v'tzayim b'Shabbos and Yom Tov. Okay, so theoretically, if a person is in danger of losing a limb on Shabbos, he has to lose the limb on Shabbos, because if it's not pikuach nefesh, it's not pikuach nefesh, right? So if the only thing which is permitted on Shabbos is pikuach nefesh, not to save a limb. Now, today we have lots of stuff which is d'Rabbanan, and we have non-Jews available to help us out. So the issue is diminished somewhat. But hypothetically, that would be the case, right?
It's very hard. It's almost not relevant. As long as pikuach. It's a kind of but it's not pikuach nefesh, so.
I know. I'm just I'll tell you hypothetically. Right? But the thing is like this. But what he's going to discuss is what if you're going to have, if you're going to be left. The classic case which we'll discuss is what if you have a girl who's going to be left with a deep scar if she doesn't get stitches on Shabbos, which is going to ruin her shidduch prospects. What? Right. So do the goy is an easy solution, but this was written in Eretz Yisrael. The question is what you do there. Okay, and if you don't have a goy available. Okay. Petzamok, a deep wound. A deep cut. Or a powerful blow. Which are caused by a knife, or by any other metal vessel. A cut which is made by someone which is not clean. A wound which came into contact with dirt, or with the ground, or with dirt. And a wound which is on the back of the hand or the back of the foot, there's the top of the foot. Since it's possible that a danger to the entire body will develop as a result, if they're not serviced properly, you'll have to do everything in order to prevent the danger. We'll bring some examples. Now, this is a case where Chazal's conception of danger actually is not necessarily 100% accurate, but nevertheless, it's determinative. In other words, it's way halacha stands. So Chazal felt any wound by any piece of metal, no matter what the size, is potentially life-threatening.
Infection.
It could be, obviously metal is more subject to likely to cause infection than would be something which is wood or stone.
They also didn't have stainless like we do today.
Yes, that's true too.
Was very different metal.
Right. So that's a very good point. So the point is that even though B'nazeh, like you say, with stainless steel, there probably would not be a danger. And I don't think we regard today wounds to the back of the hand or the top of the foot to be life-threatening. Back then, they were regarded as life-threatening. Evidently, they very easily get affected. So therefore, the Chazal said, Pikuach Nefesh and Shabbos applies to this. So the halacha, in this case, doesn't change, even though medical knowledge perhaps has changed. That's a very, very important point. Okay, we have the opposite. We have a similar thing, I should say, with killing lice on Shabbos. Right? The Chazal say you're allowed to kill lice on Shabbos because they don't reproduce sexually. Well, they didn't have microscopes back then, so they didn't know that lice do reproduce sexually. So therefore, there was an Italian achron in the 18th century, Yitzchak Pernati, the Pachad Yitzchak, who wanted to say that it's also to kill lice on Shabbos because now we know that they do reproduce sexually. And most sources disagree. And I think that the way to understand that is that Chazal, there are many ways of understanding why. The conventional way is saying that, well, we don't take into account what you see under a microscope, and if you look at lice, the way they appear without a microscope, they seem to reproduce asexually. But I think that the idea is a different one. Chazal were the legislators of Judaism. They were granted that the authority by Hashem. So if they legislate a certain position, whether it's l'chumra or l'kula, even once we find out that the law is no longer applicable or that it should be modified because the reality is different than what Chazal perceived, it doesn't matter. The law remains the law, both l'chumra and l'kula. That's why we can't get rid of Yom Tov Sheni, right? And on the other hand, you're still allowed to kill lice on Shabbos. Because when they set the law, perhaps their data was incorrect, but it doesn't matter. Because they're the ones who set the law, and therefore the law remains the law for all time. Yeah.
Is there a difference whether or not they stipulate the reason as to why the halacha is?
So that's an interesting point. In other words, yes. So that's a question. Machlekes between it's oversimplified, very much oversimplified. So it's between the Tosfos and the Gra. Tosfos holds that there's no din of mayim achronim as manazeh because we don't have melech stomach, so we don't have salt around.
We also have forks.
What?
We also have forks and knives.
There's forks and knives. Good point. And whereas the Gra says no, even though they gave a specific reason, that was only one of the reasons they might have had for it, and therefore we cannot nullify it takana d'Rabbanan just because the reason they give doesn't apply.
So I'm curious because I've heard, and the Rav maybe even mention this. I don't know if the Rav mentioned this, but the uncovered water overnight.
Yeah.
So
that's not halacha.
Not halacha.
No, it's an eitzah. Don't drink it because it's dangerous.
Don't take unnecessary risks.
Right. Anytime that falls on the rubric of chamir sankanta meisura. Chazal said we don't have to ask for this. It's dangerous, and people are not going to do dangerous things. Right? The question is why today we don't eat fish and meat together. Because we know, according to our medical knowledge today, there's nothing wrong with that. A friend of mine's Baal Tshuva told me many years ago that the one thing he misses from when he was not from was surf and turf, which is lobster and beef, I believe it is. So the point is that we know that it's not really it's not really dangerous, at least in the best of the current medical knowledge. But nevertheless, we treat that as a minhag Yisrael, kind of like kitnios. Even though Chazal didn't legislate this prohibition. Chazal said it's the sakana. The sakana doesn't apply. But nevertheless, Am Yisrael has kept this. Therefore, we continue to keep it as well.
Can you kill?
Well, I'm going to just say that was a kind of controversy a few years ago, which is still, I think, probably still ongoing because people are ignorant. That's about Worcestershire sauce, because Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it, and anchovies are a fish. So but Worcestershire sauce is used to season meat. So the OU held that because we don't believe there's any sakana, so therefore it's just an iser, and the amount of anchovies in Worcestershire is bata b'shishin. Okay, it's less than 1/60th. So they used to put in an OU, real Worcestershire sauce, not from Worcestershire sauce, which doesn't have anchovies, but real Worcestershire sauce. They put OU without OU fish, but there was such an outcry because people read the ingredients, and the ingredients say anchovies. So therefore, at one point they started. I don't know if they still do, probably they do, but on a real Worcestershire sauce, they put an OU fish in order to indicate that there's fish inside. Yes.
Can you kill any other asexually?
No, only lice, unless it's dangerous. If you like myself, if you're allergic to bee stings, you can kill bees on Shabbos.
That's sort of what I was getting at, because bees also produce somewhat asexually.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
Only if you're allergic.
Only if you're allergic, right?
What if you're not sure someone's allergic?
Safek sakana is also sakana.
I mean, you don't know until you're stung. And
I think if there's a young kid around, there's a wasp or a hornet flying around. So,
If you're in the suck and there's a baby around, 2-year-old baby, the bee, you could kill it? I mean, you just don't know what...
I think so.
If you could trap it, probably better, but if not, then...
It's the same thing as trapping and killing.
I'm trapping it in a cup and a plate.
Yeah, that's also trapping. It's a derisa. Sod is it's a derisa. So, no, but the thing is, I take that back. Because ain't been me no need so. It's not the type of thing which you have. Sorry, wrong. It's better to actually chop in the cup. Because it's not, say that the rice is only something which you normally hunt in order to keep, and you don't hunt the bee in order to keep it, but get rid of it.
Also, you wouldn't use a cup and a bowl. You'd use
Yeah, but so it's not Kedarko maybe also.
Right,
Yeah. Okay, so again, all these things are kulas, which we have because Chazal were under the impression that all these things were sarkonas nefashos. Beis, mutzah shtamish December gefen, the sofug nozlim, you're allowed to use cotton, which is suffused with liquids. If you can't use a synthetic piece of material. Now the issue here is obviously schita, squeezing out. Synthetic material is better than natural material because the fibers of synthetic material don't absorb. They're not absorbent. Plastic is not absorbent. Nylon is not absorbent. All these are not absorbent. So synthetic material is better. Paper towels are also better because paper also does not absorb. Even though our paper seems to absorb, but it's not actually the same type of absorption as the fibers of wool or linen. So it's better to use, obviously, paper towels or to use a synthetic fiber, but if you don't have them, you can use cotton. Or you're allowed to spill liquid on the wound. In order to clean a dirty wound. And we don't take into account the possibility that you are washing something by putting liquids on it, or that you're squeezing out. Again, it's pikuach nefesh. You're allowed to cut the hairs which are around the wound in one of these places. If we're concerned that these hairs will cause infection. But only ones which you must take off. You're allowed to cut the ends of a infected wound. Not an infected wound, a wound which is dirty. In order to prevent infection. I'm not sure how cutting the edges of the wound works. Maybe that's where the dirt is located. But in any event, that's in order to prevent infection. If you can delay it to Motzei Shabbos, but so without concern that the state of the wounded person will get worse, should not stitch it on Shabbos. Why is stitching a problem? Because you have to make a knot in the thread you use to stitch. I don't know if that applies to sutures. I'm not sure. I think it does, right? I think in sutures they also have to make a knot.
Yeah.
Right?
The question is more about stapling.
Yeah, stapling would not be an issue. Right, it's the sutures they have.
Or super glue.
Yeah.
Glue,
Yeah. Super glue?
Yeah.
Well, it's not super glue.
No, it is.
It's a medical glue.
It's the same chemical. It's just a medical grade version.
Really? There is such a thing?
I don't remember what the chemical compound was.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Glue. You ever guess how good super glue
I
is?
actually had a friend who got that on Shabbos.
Super glue?
His head, he smashed his head.
Wow.
So
That's what they did.
Well, that's all usually go for value to the hospital.
Cyanoacrylate.
Okay. Raise the kesher kama shein l'so Shabbos is a permanent knot. Most last more than 24 hours, so you shouldn't make it on Shabbos. Even though eventually, perhaps, even the stitches eventually dissolve, but they'll dissolve after 24 hours. So that's going to be a permanent knot. Hey, osim tzilu memikro shevar atzamas. You can make an X-ray in the case of broken bones. I feel chashash kaseh, and even if you're not sure if it's broken, but you're concerned it might be broken. But you push off putting on a cast till after nightfall. As long as it's clarified by the X-ray, that the state of the person does not get worse on account of that. You're allowed to catch a dog which bit a person in order to check if the dog is healthy, or it has rabies. Presumably true about raccoons and other animals which carry rabies as well. In order to know how to deal properly with the person who's bitten. To deal with a bite inappropriately, that's dangerous. Okay, these were dangerous foods. What about non-dangerous foods? Dealing with non-dangerous foods. They're not dangerous. They cause a lot of pain. So his whole body is weakened. Or, as a result, there is, like we said before, a potential loss of a limb. and the damaged limb. Dinoka chola she'ein bo sakana. His status of that is the chola she'ein bo sakana. She'osin lo tzrochav ha'idei nochri, where you can do anything by a non-Jew. V'afilu davar shemulach gemur, even something which is a malacha d'oraisa. V'hu shetzorchas on Shabbos as long as he needs it to be done on Shabbos. V'la Yehudi oseh lo tzrochav b'davar she'ein bo el issa d'rabbanan. He can do it issa d'rabbanan. Chol she'ein bo sakana, the rabbanans become permitted, which people are not aware of. But
so someone has let's say a child, I don't know, you just call it she'ein bo sakana. Can I take a taxi to the pharmacy to buy a Tylenol if I don't have Tylenol? Like, I mean, how far do we go with that?
I was just going to say, in general, with Tylenol.
I'm saying, I know taking Tylenol, but
yes, in theory.
there's no one to borrow from on the block. Take a taxi.
In theory, you could, right? As long as there's no chumash, which there wouldn't be around here. In theory, you could do it. Yeah.
Marathon or
yeah, it looks pretty bad, but in theory, that could still do in theory. If there's no one around, if a place there's no one around, you could do it. It's better to try and call and get them to deliver if that works.
So then calling the part, you order online. You go online to order for home delivery.
Instacart, yeah.
There's no problem doing that.
It's better getting a taxi because a taxi. There's a whole question about if your added weight actually.
Even so, you're there with the driver.
I know. So, but there's still. So that's why it's better to.
Someone doesn't have Tylenol. There's no one to borrow from. L'chatchila for a child who's sick. You could go on. Turn the computer.
A child has an chol she'ein bo sakana.
Order online.
Right. That's actually what they had to use. One of the heterim to use baby wipes on Shabbos. For those of us who are not using baby wipes, is that even if you are squeezing out liquid from the baby wipe, it's kilachayad. It's not the normal way of squeezing, and therefore, since a child has the chol she'ein bo sakana, there's no problem doing it. It's not the raisa. Okay, so that he says that if there is no danger to limb, so then, okay, for sakana sever you can do any rabbanan outright. But if it isn't sakana sever, so then you should do it with your pinky, or some other way you wouldn't do it on a weekday. And he's going to bring bring several examples. A wound which causes a tremendous amount of pain, but there's no danger. You're allowed to put on it a cream without rubbing in the cream. This, of course, is what you're supposed to do if your child has diaper rash. Right? You're not supposed to put the cream directly on the child. You're supposed to prepare a gauze pad from before Shabbos, put the cream on the gauze pad, rub it in a bit, and then put the gauze pad on the child on Shabbos.
If your hands get really dried and cracked, and can you put on like that cream on it?
No, use oil.
Oil.
Yeah, but not cream. Should prepare strips of material with the cream, and he says here in parentheses, which is purely a health note, not a halachic note. Cover them up until you use them to prevent getting dirty. So you put it on the wound on Shabbos. That's not possible. Such as you forgot to prepare. Or you got wounded on Shabbos itself. You should not spread cream on Shabbos. You can squeeze it directly from the tube on the wound. At the very least, on the bandage. I'm not sure what he means by very least. But in any event, that you shouldn't spread the cream. If the cream is in a vessel, you'll say Makel, take it out with a stick. Gaza, put it on the wound or on the gauze pad. And also you're allowed to put a bandage on the cream, which is on the wound. There's no issue that you're smoothing your skin or working it by putting on the bandage.
So you can take it from the tube to a popsicle stick to the baby.
Yeah. That's what it's supposed to be.
Smear it a little with a popsicle stick?
No,
You
just
go
put it
down,
on.
Just sort of dab
Just
it.
dab it. Yeah. Test. Pesach Shagoyim Kei Merubeh. If you have a wound which causes a tremendous amount of pain, Mutar Asos B'Shabbos Ambat B'Mei Sabon. You're allowed to make a bubble bath on Shabbos. And not literally, I guess, but that's what it says here. Soapy bath. In order to soften the wound, to remove the pus. I thought that you do that with salt water, but he says soapy water. It says elsewhere. You're not supposed to ever make very heavy salt water, medium salt water. Okay, Dina Tipo Batsam Shnisperka Mechibura, if you have dislocated bone or shishba or broken bone, that's going to speak about elsewhere. Now, what we are normally dealing with is Hatipur B'Tzom Shitchim, superficial wounds. You would B'Chlau B'Tzom Shitchim, included in superficial wounds, Kol Petzarogas, any normal wound, B'Chlau Zagam B'Tzom Shibin Atzba'os Raglaim, also those between the toes, Kivra Kala, a light burn, Shemesh, sunburn, Lifas Dam Itis, a slow bleeding, coats, a thorn, Neka, a fracture as opposed to a broken bone, Vakitza, and a insect bite. So all these are light wounds, and their status is different. You're allowed to wash a wound in water or hydrogen peroxide. Narcos, you come to clean it, clean it with a synthetic material, where there's no problem of squeezing. And if you don't have, you need to use cotton to clean the wound. You should put first the water or the hydrogen peroxide with the help of a dropper on the wound. Clean it with cotton or lignin, I forget what that is, it's another type of material. Only afterwards. That he explains in the bottom. The reason why this is better is because then it's indirect squeezing, because your intent is not to squeeze, but to clean. A pincer, tweezers, I'm not sure what we're taking with the pincers here, but
Cotton.
the cotton, right. Without touching the cotton. Okay, so we're going to stop here for today because I have to go to Mincha Mar, but and next week I do skip a few pages here in the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa.
Hydrogen peroxide is okay just because it's a liquid.
What?
Hydrogen peroxide is okay just because it's a liquid, as opposed to sporn or something.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
What was it saying before about that the list of the bug bites and the burns and the?
Those are superficial. You can't. So therefore, since they're superficial, now regarded as dangerous. So therefore, you're more limited in what you can do about them.
I see.
Okay, as he says here, you should definitely not use the cotton directly, use it indirectly or something like that. Okay, so we'll stop here for tonight and continue the session next week. Oh, next week I know we're going to depend on Shabbat Bracha schedule, so might be in 2 weeks. Okay.